My research is at the intersection of 20th century US American literature and sound culture, or what I call literary sound studies. I'm interested in the ways sound and sound practices materialize in literary texts, get represented in literary texts, and how literary expressions of sound and sound practices contribute to social thought. A key sound practice in my work is listening, and a key sound for my work right now is music. My research centers on African American literature or representations of African Americans in literature. In summer 2020, I received a research fellowship through the Humanities Institute at UCSC to do research in various audio collections, including the University of California, Santa Barbara Cylinder Audio Archive, the Library of Congress National Jukebox, and the McHenry Frank Kofsky Archive. The main product of this fellowship and research emerged as a syllabus for an undergraduate course titled African American Literary Sound Studies, Listening and Music, 1880 to 1960. This archival exploration has also influenced my dissertation project, giving me questions to pose to literary texts and giving me a conceptual starting point to begin to listen to 20th century African American writers. One of my key questions is, how did early 20th century Americans listen? And what does this have to do with African American literature? The UCSB Cylinder Archive proved instrumental. This archive preserves and makes accessible some of the earliest recording in the industry's history in the form of wax cylinders, which are precursors to disc records. Thinking about the birth of sound recording technology has led me to think about its coincidence with literary movements like American regionalism, a style often called local color, which is characterized in large part by its use of dialect writing or capturing local sounds on the page. So, by understanding the 19th century literary page as a version of the wax cylinder, I can now ask better questions about shifts in the early 20th century, where we have African American writers like W.E.B. Du Bois and James Weldon Johnson thinking beyond bottling sound on the page to using sound and sound practices to measure the literary and cultural achievements of African Americans. Turning to the Library of Congress National Jukebox, a vast collection of musical and audio Americana, I had a bit more of a targeted approach. I was interested in their collection of field recordings by Zora Neale Hurston. Hurston, a well-known African-American novelist of the Harlem Renaissance, was also an anthropologist who conducted research by making a record of Black culture in the Deep South and the Caribbean in the late 1930s. Hurston's field recordings model an ethics of learning by collecting through listening, then auditioning for her sources and proceeding to record herself singing only after her rendition of aural, AURAL, culture was approved by the community. This resonates with similar literary efforts. So in my syllabus, I paired Hurston's field recordings with Joel Chandler Harris's folklore collection, Uncle Remus, His Songs and His Sayings. This pairing illuminates their shared practices and the critical differences in the ways they leverage listening and sounding out to gain access to folk culture. So finally, under the limited conditions of the pandemic, I also spent some time with materials in the Frank Kofsky Archive. Kofsky was an author, photographer, and historian of jazz. In the mid to late 1960s, Kofsky recorded interviews with avant-garde African-American jazz musicians, including Archie Shepp, Wayne Shorter, Sun Ra, and Alice Coltrane. I became very interested in the kinds of questions that Kofsky repeatedly asked his interview subjects. Among these, one question stood out. He asked what these musicians thought their music had to do with the war in Vietnam, which has led me to think about how music and listening are sites for grappling with American imperialism from the 1915 US invasion and occupation of Haiti all the way through the war in Vietnam. So to recap, this research has helped me to historicize the entanglements of literature and sound, to think about the ethics and practices of collecting folk culture and folk literature through listening, and to relate listening and music to American imperialism in the 20th century. Thank you.